Let not your heart be troubled. You are listening to the Sean Hannity Radio Show podcast. So like many of you, I have trouble sleeping. I have insomnia. No matter what I tried, it wouldn't work until I met Mike Lindell, and I got my very own MyPillow. It has changed my life. What makes MyPillow so different is MyPillow's patented adjustable fill. In other words, you can adjust the patented fill to your exact individual needs so you get the support you need and want to help you get to sleep faster and stay asleep longer. Just go to MyPillow.com or call 1-800-919-6090. Remember, use the promo code Hannity. When you do, Mike Lindell will give you his best offer ever. Buy one pillow and get another one absolutely free. MyPillow, made in the USA, 10-year unconditional warranty, and it has a 60-day, no questions asked, money-back guarantee. You have nothing to lose. So it's time for you to start getting the quality of sleep that you've been wanting and we need. Just go to MyPillow.com or call 800-919-6090. Promo code Hannity. Take advantage of Mike's special 2-for-1 offer. MyPillow.com, promo code Hannity. All right, we made it. Happy Friday, and write down our toll-free telephone number. We'd love to hear from you today. It's 800-941-SEAN. You want to be a part of this extravaganza. We got a lot coming up today. We got 2 Freedom Caucus members. We're going to talk about all of the news that frankly, we could be taking a big victory lap on if we wanted to, but we won't. But the hearing yesterday was so epic and blockbuster. But you would not have known about the things that were being said unless you were listening to programs like this or watching programs like mine on Fox, because the mainstream media has been so obsessed with the phony story and the lies they've been telling, and that they've all doubled down on. But anyway, we have Dave Bratton and Warren Davidson are going to check in the course of the program. Kellyanne Conway stops by today, and Christian Adams. We'll have plenty of time for your calls also in the course of the day. Why don't we start with a little good news for once, right? All right, November. Trump expectations, 228,000 jobs created. That now brings the number to 2.2 million new jobs since you, the American people, elected Donald Trump. We now have the best labor participation rate in a decade in this country. Remember, we talked a lot about the lowest labor participation rate since the 70s. Well, it's getting better and better every day. We have a record low unemployment rate of 4.1%. That is a 17-year low. When you break things down demographically, for example, you have historic unemployment in the Hispanic community. It's now 4.7%, the lowest in history, and an amazing accomplishment. And look at I think one of the things that really matters the most here is the manufacturing job. We have a record low unemployment in manufacturing. Well, that's a direct result of the president saying to companies and telegraphing, don't go to Mexico, don't go across the border somewhere, build your manufacturing centers and your factories here. I mean, this is like night follows day. What's going to happen here? It's going to be very simple. When you have multinationals with trillions of dollars and this tax cut bill goes into effect, they're now going to bring that money into America. Now, what do you think they're going to put it in a savings account and hope for some interest? No, they're going to now start spending. They're now going to start investing. They want, with the end of the regulations, which incentivizes business, it literally costs them a fortune. And corporations now having nearly a 50% tax cut. Remember, corporations don't pay taxes. You pay taxes. That's a tax cut at the end of the day for you. So it's all good news here today. It's, we have the fewest number of people on food stamps in 7 years. Another big indicator. Think of all the statistics that I gave out last year. And that what does it mean? It means jobs and opportunities and hope for people and families that have been struggling after the disastrous economy of Obama, the only president never to reach 3% GDP growth in the history of our country. That's a big deal. The guy that doubled the debt. We're still not getting a hold of the debt yet, but it will be a natural occurrence. Reagan doubled revenues in 8 years to the federal government just by following his strong tax plan and ending burdensome regulation in his day. We just got to get Congress to spend a little less. Ending baseline budgeting would be the single best thing we could do, with maybe the exception of Homeland Security and national security purposes. I watch the fake news media, and I don't know whether to laugh or cry half the time because they're so dumb and they're so ignorant. And there's nobody worse than CNN fake news, except for MSNBC conspiratorial news. And what really is spectacular to me is you've got people that don't read. you've got people that don't do their job. They think they can just, go into makeup, get their hair done, show up on TV, maybe read a few headlines and think that they know what the news is. And everything is seen through their prism of it's now becoming sort of genetic to them, their hatred of the president, which is bordering on irrational. There's almost an emotional breakdown on some of these shows on a daily basis. And, of course, the attacks against us. We have turned out to be so right so often. When I was watching these hearings yesterday, everything that we've been saying on radio, everything we've been saying on TV, every layer of the onion that we have peeled back in the last year was literally brought to the forefront for the whole country to see. I thought Jim Jordan of the Freedom Caucus did probably one of the best jobs. But then you had Trey Gowden. You had a bunch of other people that did really good jobs, too. I don't want to pick favorites here. But it's just amazing how to some of these people in the media, this is all new stuff because their fixation and focus has always been on the wrong thing. And that was Trump-Russian collusion. Now, they might point to, well, Paul Manafort was indicted. What about that, Hannity? And I'm like, nothing to do with Trump-Russia collusion. Nothing. Zip. Well, what about Lieutenant General Flynn? No, that was lying to the FBI. That was not Trump-Russia collusion. Well, wait, it's coming, though. It's definitely there. No, that's not going to happen either. And they just, for the life of them, there's a lot of deep resentment for me, and I'll give them the secret sauce. If they had any brains, they'd actually follow the model. The secret sauce is to actually read, do your research, find your own sources, talk to people, work the phones, and for every hour you're on the air, you should probably be working 3 hours off the air, preparing your shows and getting ready and being informed and bringing information to the table, along with your bias and your opinions, because every one of these people that think they're newscasters are not. I'll give you one example. It was happening over at CNN today. I guess, Friday afternoon, a big day for the Destroy Trump media because they love hyperventilating every Friday over some phony Russiagate story that they've come up with. And last Friday, of course, it was Brian Ross's Michael Flynn's guilty plea. This had happened when he was the candidate, the big bombshell. Well, that had Joy Behar doing a reenactment of the I'll have what she's having scene, in a movie. It's ridiculous.
Back to the show.
Breaking news.
Oh, my God. Breaking news. ABC News' Brian Ross is reporting Michael Flynn promised full cooperation to the Mueller team and is prepared to testify that as a candidate, Donald Trump directed him to make contact with the Russians. Yeah!
Sorry, she had egg all over her face, and Ross was suspended and then further banned from ever covering Trump again. Didn't work out the way they wanted. And over at Fake News CNN, you got Wolfie Blitzer over there dancing in the aisles because somebody gave CNN an email that was purported to be from WikiLeaks that was sent to Donald Trump Jr. before the campaign. Now, the problem with the story is we already knew that WikiLeaks had contacted Donald Jr., so it's not new news. It's not, big CNN breaking. This is CNN. And a bit today.
This is CNN.
Well, that news had broken, by the way, weeks ago. And then after the initial media hysteria died down, it faded into the woodwork because it proved absolutely nothing. And the second problem with the story right off the top was there were so many caveats and disclaimers that it was clear earlier today that even CNN doesn't know that the email proves a thing. They report, Donald Trump and his son Donald Trump Jr. and others in the Trump organization received an email in September of 2016 offering a decryption key and website address for hacked WikiLeaks documents, according to an email provided to congressional investigators. The September 4th, 2016 email was sent during the final stretch of the 2016 presidential race, on the same day that Trump Jr. first tweeted about WikiLeaks and Clinton. Well, the email came 2 months after the hacked emails of the DNC were made public, 1 month before WikiLeaks began leaking the contents of Clinton campaign chairman John Podesta's hacked emails. Remember, Julian Assange has not been wrong in 11 years, and he has said to me repeatedly on this show and when I went to the Ecuadorian embassy that it wasn't a state entity and it wasn't Russia. Well, let's not ask the guy that would actually know. That'd be really wrong. Anyway, it arrived less than 3 weeks before WikiLeaks itself messaged Trump Jr. and began an exchange. Now, that's and by the way, the exchange of direct messages on Twitter, that was a reference to reports from weeks ago showing that somebody from WikiLeaks had reached out to Trump Jr. But neither that story nor this one contained any evidence Trump Jr. took it any further by either responding or acting on the tip. And, but it is interesting that we care so much about Russia collusion. There's nobody in the Destroy Trump media that seems to care after a year of lies that we now know a fact. And the fact is that Hillary Clinton bought and paid for that phony Russian dossier, with the salacious material on Donald Trump that they used to influence all the American people in the lead up to an election and may have been used as a predicate and a foundation for a FISA warrant to spy on a candidate, an opposition candidate, and on a president-elect and his entire team. Well, that'll get it to be a big story. They may even have to report that one at some point. These geniuses. I love all these people that run campaigns, fail, and then they become experts on campaigns and governance. It's fascinating to me. The biggest failures in the world seem to end up as the commentator du jour. Anyway, there's a reference in the reports, as I've been saying here. So all this means is, the email was described to CNN by multiple sources verified by Trump's attorney, came from someone who listed their name as Mike Erickson. Congressional investigators were uncertain who the sender is. CNN unable to make contact with the individual. So what their big bombshell report today was, they didn't know whether this email was a spoof or a setup or a hoax or God knows what. And CNN said, well, it's not clear whether the email was a legitimate effort to provide the hacked documents to the Trump campaigns. Why are you reporting it with such breathlessness and hysteria? And after CNN stories was published, Julian Assange tweeted it was not clear what this has to do with WikiLeaks. Many enthusiastic readers emailed around archives of our publication during the election. Now we find out, just as I'm coming on the air here, shouldn't surprise anybody. I thought it might take till tomorrow like usual. But CNN's big Russiagate bombshell, well, sorry, it went off like an exploding cigar. And it turns out that just hours after CNN went with it, the Washington Post blew it out of the water. And it looks like Wolfie Blitzer and CNN fake news are going to have to take apology lessons from Joy Behar and Brian Ross every other Friday.
This is CNN.
So hours after this, the Washington Post reports the email was actually sent on September 14th, the day after. Oh, whoopsie daisy. Not before. He didn't get a heads up. The day after WikiLeaks published and released, the same files online. Whoopsie daisy. That would suggest the sender may have simply been pointing to the Trump campaign to publicly available documents. Yeah, this is CNN. All right, only 2 words you need to remember while making your list and checking it twice this holiday season. Tommy John. They are the revolutionary men's underwear, T-shirt, sock brand, and they have redefined comfort for men everywhere, including and especially me. All Tommy John underwear is crafted from the most comfortable fabric you'll ever use. It's impossible to be uncomfortable in Tommy John. Plus, their innovation never takes a day off at Tommy John, even during the holidays. They're constantly thinking of new ways to give you the best product you've ever tried. Like their patented undershirts I wear every day. Well, they stay tucked in and literally pull perspiration right off your body. And also, Tommy John, their underwear is backed by the best pair you'll ever wear, guarantee, or it's free from TommyJohn.com. So give the gift of life-changing comfort for the holidays. TommyJohn.com/Hannity. You get 20% off your first order. That's TommyJohn.com/Hannity. Plus, you get extra savings with exclusive holiday daily deals. Only at TommyJohn.com/Hannity. So I wonder who might get fired by next week or taken off the Trump campaign from fake news CNN. You almost have to fire the whole staff. You have to get rid of everybody at the end because it just is what it is. All right, I've got a couple of things that we're going to get into today, and I want to just set this up for you. When you look at where we are now and how badly the media has botched everything in terms of reporting, and by the way, they never told you Obama's record. They never vetted him back in the day. They never told you after 8 years how atrocious his record was. They anointed him from day one, and they helped elect him by never doing their job. And they tried to spin his record even this year by not talking about it. It's what they chose never to talk, that the policies of Barack Obama failed and failed miserably. Now we've got a situation where we have some, and I make the distinction. There's many great law enforcement people. The vast majority are. Same in the FBI. Same in the Secret Service. Same in the intelligence community. But we have others that are using the tools of intelligence, that are misusing their positions at the FBI. When James Comey and Peter Strzok were writing the exoneration for Hillary before the investigation was done, the fix was in. That's now incontrovertible. The timeline is what it is. When you got a dossier that we now know was bought and paid for, and of course then we have FBI guys meeting with Fusion GPS and meeting with Christopher Steele, that's a problem. Because they should have figured out pretty early that that was all Russian paid-for lies and that Hillary was paying for it. But we all strongly suspect, at least in the hearings yesterday, that that dossier was used as the foundation to get a warrant to spy on and surveil a opposition candidate and a president-elect and those around him. Just like we know that the Uranium One deal, with Hillary signing off, Eric Holder signing off, and Robert Mueller knowing all about Putin's foothold within this country, bribing and robbing and literally being involved in extortion and money laundering and all sorts of other crimes as a means of getting a hold of America's uranium, and they did nothing to stop it. You get all of that, then you get Robert Mueller, Comey, his best buddy, sets it up so we get a special prosecutor. Turns out to be Mueller. Mueller puts in every corrupt, unethical prosecutor he could possibly find, anybody that is pro-Hillary and anti-Trump. It's mind-numbing that we're allowing this to continue. Straight ahead. I-25 till the top of the hour on this Friday. 800-941-SEAN is our toll-free telephone number. You want to be a part of the program. He met with... we have the House Intelligence Committee saying today that they now intend to subpoena the top assistant to Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein. That's the guy that secretly met with the Trump dossier author, Christopher Steele. Christopher Steele is the guy that was hired by Fusion GPS. By the way, he met with them, too. His name is Bruce Orr. And that was after the Clinton campaign had paid to create the phony Russian lied propaganda document. What an irony. Isn't it an irony? What an incredible irony that here we are, and that everything that everybody in the media on the left in this country was so outraged about, they did. Their silence now is deafening. The committee has learned that Bruce Orr, the Associate Attorney General, not only spoke with the dossier writer Christopher Steele, but also met Christopher Steele after the election with Glenn Simpson. Remember Glenn Simpson? He was the guy, it was his company, Fusion GPS, that hired Mr. Steele with Democratic Hillary Clinton campaign money, DNC money. But that's when she, according to Donna Brazile, Hillary was running the DNC. Quote, pursuant to House Intelligence Committee's prior subpoenas and information requests, the Department of Justice should have provided the committee with information on contacts that DOJ office Bruce Orr had with Fusion GPS representatives and Christopher Steele, and said the committee chairman, Devin Nunes. Now, the committee will issue a subpoena as it relates to Bruce Orr for other information. This is all getting very interesting. Don't you think the whole thing is just, you see the corruption and how deep it runs? It's so sinister. It's taken a long time to get where we were. That's why this was such a good week this week. Anyway, so pursuant to that, Orr had Fusion GPS representatives in a meeting with Christopher Steele. That's the DOJ. I mean, that is the FBI. This is the highest level. Why couldn't they figure out? Now, one question that remains is, did they pay? Did Comey really want to pay? We've heard reports up to $50,000. One report yesterday, they might have paid up to $100,000. That's yet to be confirmed, but it's a question that needs to be asked and answered, hopefully sooner rather than later. And I think these committees might, for the first time, actually do their job and get to the bottom of some of this. Here's another interesting tidbit in terms of Mueller's band of Trump-hating, Hillary-loving donors to the DNC and to Obama and to Hillary. There's not one Republican donor that we found, not one. Now, I've been telling you the most aggressive prosecutor on Robert Mueller's anti-Trump team, this guy by the name of Andrew Weissman, Wall Street Journal reports today, actually attended Hillary Clinton's election night party, the one that was at the Jacob Javits Center in New York. Remember, Hillary was planning her fireworks that night and then had to cancel them because it looked tacky, like she thought she was going to win. That's how confident everybody was that she was going to win. Now, Weissman, if you go into his background and his record, he's the one that was involved in the Anderson accounting investigation as it relates to Enron. And as a result of his great work, tens of thousands of people, a good company was put out of work and tens of thousands of people lost their jobs. And of course, then the same guy was involved with the Enron and Merrill Lynch case. And it turned out he sent innocent people to jail for almost a year. In both those cases, he had major overturns. On the obstruction of justice case, the Supreme Court overturned the conviction 9-0. And he was excoriated for some of the behavior he was involved in. He had actually highlighted in yellow exculpatory evidence that was never turned over to the defense. He made up laws that don't even exist. I don't know anybody that has as big a failed record as Andrew Weissman, nor somebody that uses the aggressive tactics. Like, this is the guy that was responsible for raiding Paul Manafort's home and shaking down his wife at 6 o'clock in the morning. What did you think his wife was going to do at that moment? Now, there's a time and a place for raids like that, but that's not it unless you want to make a big show of things. Well, it gets even more interesting. Weissman is one of several Democratic donors hired by Mueller, and the special counsel's pit bull donated $6,600 to the presidential campaigns of Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton. This is not an objective, fair special counsel that has been put together. And for all you idiots over at MSNBC that have sold your souls for jobs, you might want to consider for once looking at facts and information. Maybe you'll come to the conclusion that what James Comey did was really wrong when he exonerated Hillary, along with Peter Strzok, who's a Clinton lover and Trump hater, exonerated her and began drafting an exoneration letter before they even did the investigation. Maybe you'll see something wrong with our justice system there. Or the fact that you've got high-ranking people within the DOJ, working with Christopher Steele, and working with, others as it relates to the dossier. This guy that put the dossier together, this Fusion GPS guy, Glenn Simpson. Maybe you'll see some problems there. Maybe you'll see some real Russia collusion when Christopher Steele is getting Russia propaganda that he's paying for while he's getting paid by Hillary Clinton's campaign and Hillary Clinton's run DNC. And maybe you'll see there's a problem that the American people were fed lies and propaganda about a candidate leading up to an election. Sounds like a little bit of collusion to me. And maybe some of you people at CNN Fake News or Conspiracy TV MSNBC, maybe you'll finally realize that, when Robert Mueller and Eric Holder and all these people, we know they had an FBI informant on the ground inside of the network that Vladimir Putin was building in America, and that they knew crimes were being committed and bribery and extortion and kickbacks and money laundering and other racketeering crimes, all in an effort to get a hold of America's uranium. And yet we have a FBI source in there that's feeding the information back. I think maybe the American people need to get answers to why didn't Mueller act? Why didn't Eric Holder act? Why did they allow this to go through? It never made sense that 20% of America's uranium would go to a hostile regime like Russia and a hostile actor like Vladimir Putin. And you might want to follow the money from all those people in Canada that were involved in this Uranium One deal, kicking back all this money to the Clintons, and look at the timeline that I have expressed and shown on TV many times. Maybe that's something that CNN Fake News can dig their teeth into and maybe get right. Or Fake News MSNBC can do. You've got, Mueller now hiring eight of the 16 people he hired originally are all Democratic donors. He hired no Republican donor. I'm not even talking about Peter Strzok. We know his biases and his girlfriend's biases. Okay, they're gone. Who else is going to go next? Should it maybe be Andrew Weissman, a big Hillary donor? Andrew Weissman attending Hillary Clinton's election night party at the Jacob Javits Center in New York? Maybe he should go. And what about Comey himself? That leaked to the Columbia professor so it would go to the New York Times so he can get the special counsel. What about that particular case? Well, Rod Rosenstein is up to his eyeballs in all of this. You know, the fact that Peter Strzok is involved in the email, the dossier, Uranium One, the Mueller investigation, that the fact that he's involved in the interview of Hillary Clinton and Cheryl Mills and Uma Abedin, all of whom lied, all of them. They weren't charged with lying the way that the FBI went after General Flynn. Why weren't they charged with lying? Why is there a dual system of justice in the United States of America in this day and age? Why is Bruce Orr meeting with somebody that put together Russian lies when they're supposed to be looking into Russian collusion and all of this stuff? You know, why did he go to the party? Now we got more information that I want to share with you today. Yeah, we're going to get to Joe in a second. We have yet another key member of Robert Mueller's Russia probe appears to have deep ties to the Democratic Party. His name is Aaron Zebley. Served as Mueller's chief of staff at the FBI, senior counselor in the National Security Division at the Department of Justice, also an assistant U.S. attorney in the National Security and Terrorism Unit in Alexandria, Virginia. He's often referred to in the media as Mueller's right-hand man. Well, also in 2015, when he was a lawyer, he represented Justin Cooper, the IT staffer who personally set up Hillary Clinton's unsecure server in her Chappaqua home. Now, you know, Cooper, it so happens, is also an aide who destroyed Clinton's old Blackberries with a hammer. Wow, what a background and what a distinction that is to have in life. And documents that Fox News got a hold of and Senate investigators got a hold of grew frustrated with Zelby after repeatedly stonewalling when they were trying to set up a meeting with Cooper. And Zelby, he calls the Homeland Security Committee to inform them Cooper had chosen to cancel the interview. And it goes on from there. You know, I've never seen such corruption in my life. By the way, joining us now is Joe Bastardi, weatherbell.com. We got a big storm heading up the east coast of the northeastern part of the country. What's going on? By the way, this is the selfish section of the Sean Hannity show because I want to know. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, it's almost like a Hallmark movie snowstorm in that there's not going to be a lot of, drifting and wind and tidal flooding and all that. It's a 4-day thumper that is going to be starting in D.C. by midnight, into Philadelphia 3 to 6 a.m., into New York around 6 a.m., probably Boston and Providence 9 to noon. Snow for 12 to 18 hours, give 4 to 8 inches, locally 12, right up the I-95 corridor. Inland as far back as, let's say, Winchester, Virginia, probably to Danbury, Connecticut, and then on up into New England, and all the way to the coast, too. Long Island is in this. New Jersey is in this.
So great. I got a business meeting tomorrow that I got to go to, and I got to go on on 95. You're telling me I'm going to be snowed in or what?
Well, I don't know. I would assume they're going to be plowing it, but it's going to be a rough haul. I mean, anytime it's snowing that hard, that's going to be a pain in the neck. So I don't know where your business meeting is, but if
it's in Connecticut, way, what time does it start snowing?
Oh, it'll be snowing at your place probably by 6, 7 a.m. in the morning.
Oh, great! So, now I got to go early.
You don't have to come.
There goes my good night's sleep. You know, why do you always bring me bad news? Why? Every time it's a tornado, it's a hurricane, it's a storm. Hannity, a Cat 5 is headed right towards your vacation property in Naples, Florida. It's a direct hit. I hope you're okay. No. And then the week after, your other home, your main home is also in a direct path of a massive storm. That's what you told me this year so far.
Yeah, well,
that's all true.
Keep you prepared.
But by the way, you were right every time.
What's fascinating is the weather is giving us signals with what's happening for what's going to happen. I'm going to give you an example. You know these wildfires in California? It's a horrible situation. But back in the spring, we were predicting a major wildfire this season because of the fact that we had so much rain in California. You go back and look at it. Because of the type of winter and spring we had, we were ready for that hurricane season. The type of hurricane season we had this year, folks, is similar to 33, 50, 2005, 1995, 2010, 2008. Guess what? All those Decembers turned cold in the eastern part of the United States. So we got the hint, and I've been posting this on Twitter, and of course for my Weatherbell subscribers, we knew in October that cold was going to invade the east this year, big time, unlike the past few years for December, and right through the holiday season, probably through January. And that doesn't mean you can't warm up and get to 50 for a couple of days before.